Number 1. The Mysterious Life of Philip Cesenegro, under a secret life Tom Carew. Tom was a soldier for the SAS. He was an undercover as he served in Afghanistan and published the book Jihad as he was an expert on Muslim extremists. It didn't take too long for Tom's life to be fully exposed as lies. The truth was that he was never in the SAS and he never served in Afghanistan. It was all lies. His real name was Philip Cesenegro. Now, this is where the story becomes even more bizarre. Philip was supposed to be dead. He was killed in Croatia by a car bomb in 1993. So imagine the shock of people that saw the huge resemblance of this Tom Carew on TV as this SAS hero, and Philip, who was supposed to be dead. It didn't take too long to put 2 and 2 together and come to the conclusion that Philip faked his own death and then lied about his second life under the alias of Tom Carew. Well, it doesn't even end there. Philip's body was found decomposed, where he possibly died of carbon monoxide poisoning. The police believe he could have been murdered. Some believe he faked his own death again. You just don't know what to believe. Number 2. Every person should feel safe and secure in their own home. Well, on June 2002, 14-year-old Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped while she was sleeping in her own bedroom that she shared with her 9-year-old sister. Her kidnapper broke in, and at knife point, he told Elizabeth not to make a sound. "Get out of bed or I'll kill you and your whole family." For 9 months, Elizabeth lived in fear as she was sexually abused by her kidnapper. What her kidnapper did not know though was that Elizabeth's 9-year-old sister witnessed the kidnapping as she was only pretending to be asleep. She was able to identify her sister's kidnapping and give graphic details of what happened that night. At first, the police didn't take the sister's witness too seriously, mainly due to her being so young. The family then hired their own sketch artist, and the picture of the kidnapper was then released to the media. It wasn't long before people started to see the resemblance of a kidnapper, Brian Mitchell, and the person in the drawing. The police saw Brian Mitchell and his wife, and with them was a young teenager. They asked for her name. She stood there silent, too scared to speak out of fear of a kidnapper killing her family. Eventually, she spoke up and said, "My name is Elizabeth." Brian was arrested. He's now serving 2 life sentences. His wife was given 2 terms in jail for up to 15 years. Elizabeth is now an activist for missing and abused children. Number 3. In 1970, Lulu Hood, a mother to 14 children, went missing after a family argument caused her to leave the house. This was nothing new to Lulu Hood's family. Lulu suffered from severe mental health issues that were so severe that she had all her children taken away from her. Lulu was known to go missing for long periods of time, so no missing person file was ever reported at the time. This time though, Lulu never did return home. 26 years later, her family's worst nightmare was confirmed in 1996 when skeletal remains of a woman were discovered in an abandoned brickyard. The skeletal remains were that of Lulu Hood, and the police closed the case. This is where the story takes a huge mysterious twist. In 2011, Lulu's family provided the police a DNA sample of Lulu Hood, and to their shock, it didn't match the skeletal remains. A few weeks later, Lulu was found to be living in Florida, and was now reunited with her family 4 decades later. The female skeletal remains were eventually identified as the remains of Helen Alp, who went missing for 15 years before her body was discovered. Number 4. Imagine finding out that your whole entire life as you know it was just one big cover-up. Well, for Julian Hernandez, this was the case. Julian was 18 years old. School was going good. He was getting good grades, scoring an almost perfect score in his test. Then his life took a very bizarre twist. He discovered that his name did not match his social security number when he applied to go to college. A school counsellor soon discovered that the teenager was listed in the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children database. The shocking truth then came out that Julian was kidnapped by his father in 2002 when he was just 5 years old. Now 13 years after going missing, he was back again with his mother. His life as he knew it, his real name, his date of birth, his place of birth, was just a lie. Julian says that he does not hate his father for what he'd done, and that he still loves him. He's the reason I've done so well in school, Julian told reporters. His father is now serving 4 years in jail for the kidnapping. Number 5. In 1986, Edgar was reported missing from the Waterloo region of Ontario. After decades of going missing, Edgar was believed to have been killed. The truth was that he suffered a severe head injury that caused amnesia. In 1986, he didn't know who he was or where he lived. He began to rebuild his life. For 30 years, he lived in the Niagara region. He then began to get memory flashes that made him question himself if his name was actually his real name. The now 50-year-old went to a social worker that discovered that his suspicions were true. The flashbacks were real. He had been reported missing for over 30 years, and his memory of his life before he suffered his head injury was beginning to come back. At the time of Edgar's disappearance, it was discovered that Edgar lived in a group home and that he was developmentally delayed as a child. He is now with his family. Edgar solved his own mysterious disappearance.